What up, what up, what up, what up? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Appreciate you guys for locking in on the content. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys continue to stay for a long time. Make sure you stay for a good time because the vibes is always going to be right and on time. Appreciate y'all so much, man. Smash that like button. Continue to stay engaged in the content. The live chat starting to heat up already. My man Weezy, the Dreaded Eagle, first in the building. D. Aldrich, Quezzy the Great. Man, I appreciate y'all so much for always staying consistent with your boy. It means a lot to me. It goes a long way to the success of the YouTube channel. So, I do have some things that I want to touch on with you guys today. We're in the midst of an off season. The off season is in full effect, and we're still searching for the offensive and defensive coordinators for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now they're going to be searching for a new linebackers coach, Nick Rallis. Nick Rallis, former linebacker coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, now defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon poached him off of the staff. Now, first and foremost, congratulations to Nick Rallis. Nick Rallis is now the youngest defensive coordinator in the NFL. That's pretty cool when you think about it. I know what it's like to be one of the youngest people at a company. So, that's really cool to just see, a guy as young as Nick Rallis. He's 29. He's 29 years old, by the way, right? I'm 28. So just put that in perspective. That's like me going to coach the Arizona Cardinals, right? Or that's me being a DC for the Philadelphia Eagles. You get what I'm saying? Imagine somebody my age being the defensive coordinator for a multi-million-dollar franchise. That's a pretty big deal, and I got to give credit where credit is due. Say what you want about the move. I think Nick Rallis did a pretty good job with the Eagles linebackers. I feel like we saw a pretty good year from T.J. Edwards. We saw a pretty good year from Kaiser White, all things considered. I even feel like we saw some good things from Haason Reddick, obviously. I feel like overall we saw some good things from the linebackers. Now, would we have liked to have seen more from Nakobe Dean? Most definitely. And we still don't really have a good feel for how he is in NFL action. We have seen him in certain scenarios where he was able to get some snaps on the field, most notably in that Tennessee Titans game where I think he had like 5 or 6 sacks and like 2 drives. You know what I mean? So it's really up in the air to see where Nakobe Dean is in terms of his development and just how much you can attribute that to Nick Rallis. That's still the mystery. But overall, I think Nick Rallis did a pretty good job with the Eagles linebacker room. And overall, congratulations to Nick Rallis, former Eagles linebacker coach. Congratulations to him for becoming the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. That's a pretty good situation for him. He's already on the fast track to becoming a head coach someday. So again, congratulations to him. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but now that kind of set the stage. That kind of set the stage for other position coaches to kind of get poached off of the Eagles staff, right? One guy in particular that could potentially be poached off is Kevin Patullo. Now, he's not really a position coach, but he is the passing game coordinator. So when you think about it from that perspective, he is Nick Sirianni's right-hand man in terms of the passing game and just the overall, I guess, design of the plays, so on and so forth. Kevin Patullo is pretty instrumental in the passing game. There's a chance that he may get poached off the roster and he may go to Shane Steichen, with the Indianapolis Colts and be his OC, right? Ultimately, at the end of the day, these coaches want to continue to elevate. They don't want to continue to make lateral moves, right? And I think that's in any profession. At your own job, in your own career path, you always want to continue to elevate, I would assume, right? You don't want to make lateral moves unless the lateral move comes with an upside that your current situation doesn't provide. You feel what I'm saying? So, for example, Eric Bieniemy, he is going to be the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. He was the OC for the Kansas City Chiefs for a long time. But I feel like some people still didn't know how much to attribute that to him. I feel like a lot of people still trying to figure out just how good of an OC Eric Bieniemy is, just how much of an offensive, just how good of an offensive mind he is. Now he has issues in his past that we're not going to get into. But the reality is Eric Bieniemy made a lateral move from Kansas City to Washington. He made a lateral move in potential of a higher upside. So again, sometimes lateral moves make sense, sometimes they don't. In Eric Bieniemy's case, excuse me, you guys, sorry about that. In his case, he made a lateral move that ultimately has a higher upside in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. So for Eric Bieniemy, it made sense. So a lot of these guys, a lot of these coaches, they want to continue to elevate. And that's the reality. So I'm not mad at a guy. I'm not even mad at Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon for wanting to elevate and put themselves in a better situation for their for their career. Did I like how Gannon left like a thief in the night? No, but the reality is these guys have every right to move on and elevate and add newer tags to their resume. That's just the reality. So yeah, the Eagles have now to look. They got to look for an OC, a DC, and then they got to look for a linebackers coach, and they may have to look for a passing game coordinator as well. Now we've been talking about Brian Johnson potentially being elevated to the OC. I think that's the most likely situation. I think the DC position is a bit more up in the air, but right now Denard Wilson is the front runner for that. That's what it looks like. The Eagles like hiring from within, but they still have to go through the processes of allowing external candidates to come into the building and have a fair shot at the job. So yeah, let's move on from that. Like I said, OC, DC, and linebackers coach are the key positions that need to be filled right now, and we'll see how that pans out. Shout out to you guys for locking in on the content as well. Dank Burrito, Weezy the Dreaded Eagle, my man Joey Shakes in the building. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate y'all support, man. Philly. Appreciate y'all for being here. Philly Oso, what's good? What's good? Now, let's move on. Another topic I want to talk to you guys about is the NFL potentially will be voting to get rid of the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback sneak. They're not a fan of how the Eagles run the quarterback sneak. They don't like that you got guys like Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. You got guys pushing the quarterback forward. But I'm trying to figure out the difference between a running back running and then he runs up against a wall and he's trying to get across the line of scrimmage, or he's trying to get additional yardage and the offensive linemen come and push him forward. I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between that and what the Eagles are doing, because are we banning entirely any sort of forward momentum provided by anybody else other than the ball carrier? Are we banning that entirely from the game? I'm not sure how much sense that makes. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's nitpicking. I think it's honestly one of those situations where you hate him. If I had to sum it up and oversimplify it, it's obviously probably a more complex conversation, but we're having fun here. If I had to simplify it, I would say they hate him. They play hate him. You know what I'm saying? Like flat out. The Eagles quarterback sneak is one of the most unstoppable plays in football, or was one of the most unstoppable plays in football, and they still have to vote on it. Nothing's set in stone yet, but overall, the Eagles have a 92% conversion rate when they do that quarterback sneak. The NFL don't like that. Their reasoning behind it, for what I'm hearing and from what I'm reading, is it's not aesthetically pleasing to the game. It's not aesthetically pleasing, whatever that means. Like, football is an ugly sport. It's an ugly game. Why are we trying to win beauty contests with this thing? I don't get it. Move ball from point A to point B to get the desired result. They just hating. That's my honest assessment of it all. And again, nothing's been finalized, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. the NFL trying to ban the Eagles quarterback sneak. I don't like it. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference because Jalen Hurts is really that guy. He's strong enough to get that thing by himself. But I don't like the reactionary nature of it all. You know what I mean? It just seemed like this entire season, people were trying to poke holes in the legitimacy of the Philadelphia Eagles any way they can, trying to find these unique and creative ways to illegitimize the Philadelphia Eagles' success. I don't understand it. Like I know I'm not making it up, and I know you guys feel the same way. Is this my fandom? Probably so. I could be biased in this regard. It's entirely plausible, but it just seemed like throughout this year, the Eagles never really got the reverence that they deserved, in my opinion. Now, granted, going into the Super Bowl, they were heavily favored. Heavily favored. So maybe that goes against what I think. But I'm just going off of the energy. I'm going off of the vibes. I'm going off of the dynamics. I'm going over the nuances. I'm trying to read between the lines here for you guys, right? I'm trying to pay attention to the inflections in people's voices and the way they talk about the Eagles, the way they describe the Eagles and their word choices and certain things they prefer to highlight versus things they like to put on the back burner. And yeah, they can probably hedge their bets and say, yeah, I thought the Eagles would win the Super Bowl. I bet that they would. They're hedging their bet in that regard. But when you say everything prior to that as that's sort of questioning the legitimacy of the squad or the team, it makes me scratch my head. Like, how serious are you? Are you just? It's always a but with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, they do this, that, and the third, but hey, they're really good at this, but I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe again, this is my biased eagle colored glasses that I'm looking through. You guys tell me if I'm tripping or not. It just always seems like there's something the Philadelphia Eagles are doing or not doing to ruffle people's feathers. No pun intended. But I want to transition. I want to transition into I know we talked about the Eagles needing to find a defensive coordinator that can put them in positions to succeed, especially when it comes to good quarterbacks, right? And, it's going to be an uphill battle for the future defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be an uphill battle because they're going to be entering a situation where, A, they're not going to have as much talent as the previous DC had, but also when it comes to Eagles fans, the Eagles fans are very critical and have been very critical of Jonathan Gannon over the past couple of years because of not only his play philosophies, but also the way he approaches handling top-tier quarterbacks or even above average quarterbacks. Over the past 2 years, Jonathan Gannon has shown entirely too much respect to above average quarterbacks, which leads to the Eagles being compromised defensively, which leads to these quarterbacks having high completion percentages. And let's think about the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes was 90%, above 90% in the second half of that Super Bowl. I think he was around 70% for the game. I understand Patrick Mahomes is great. He is the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. And if anybody should be getting those numbers, probably Patrick Mahomes. It don't matter who you play against. But it comes a point in time where you have to draw a line somewhere, right? We can't keep talking about how good this Eagles defense was. And then we say, well, when you run up against a good quarterback, all that goes out the window. I'm not saying, listen, in this new NFL, good offense beats good defense most of the time. But there comes a point in time where the good defense has to make it hard for the good offense. And the problem with the Philadelphia Eagles over the past couple of years is that no matter how good the defense has been, they have not made it difficult for good quarterbacks or even above average quarterbacks. They know what to do when it comes to mid-tier, mediocre, or even below average quarterbacks. They know what to do then. But when it comes to anybody above average, Derek Carr, Dak Prescott, you know what I'm saying? They struggle. They struggle, and it's Jimmy Garoppolo. They struggle. It's something I will never ever really understand. So that's why I believe the new DC, the future defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, is facing an uphill battle, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the Eagles fan base is not having passive defense. That's just not the nature. That's not in the nature of Philadelphia culture. No one's saying you have to blitz every play. I'm not saying that. I don't want you blitzing every play at all. But what I am saying is that it comes a point where you have to step up against good quarterbacks. That's the sign of a good defense. And there's always been such a stark difference in how the Eagles play below average quarterbacks versus how they play above average quarterbacks. There's always been such a stark difference. It's not like they give good quarterbacks a tough go at it. You know what I mean? And the good quarterback has just been good that day. It's like the quarterback doesn't even have to try because of the way the Eagles play defense, playing 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage and constantly living and dying by the zone. It's just ridiculous to me. I want to bring up something that I wrote over last summer to you guys. I mentioned how, this year and last year, the Eagles really didn't have the Eagles defense really didn't have too many issues putting up points. Last season in 2021, the Eagles averaged 26 points per game, which was 12th in the NFL, which is good enough for the playoffs, just based off the 12th ranking. And sure, the offensive efficiency could have improved, which it did. It did, actually. The offensive efficiency improved from 2021 to 2022. But defense was the main issue in 2021. And defense took his game to another level in 2022. But when it mattered most, defense became the issue again. Let me throw these numbers to you guys at you from the 2021 season. Let me throw this at you guys and tell me what y'all think. In 2021, the Eagles defense allowed 9 quarterbacks to complete over 73% of their passes. 5 of those 9 quarterbacks completed over 80% of their passes. And then in the playoffs, they allowed Tom Brady to complete 78% of his passes. And then Derek Carr, I think he had the highest of the season on the Eagles. I think he completed, 85% of his passes against the Eagles in 2021. So my point is, this didn't change with Jonathan Gannon from year 1 to year 2 in 2021 to 2022. It didn't change. The talent just got better on the defense. The defense just made more plays. But what happens when the playmaking stops, which is kind of what happened towards the end of the season? What happens when the playmaking subsides? What happens when your defensive talent isn't catching as many interceptions as they was earlier in the season, or forcing as many fumbles as they were earlier in the season, when the turnover differential is starting to go against you? What happens then? Talent definitely has to do their job, but also defensive coordinators have to make adjustments or do something to respond to what their defense is experiencing with that said good quarterback. Good quarterbacks are going to be good quarterbacks no matter who they play. But what you at least can do is turn that good quarterback into a just above average quarterback. You know what I'm saying? If you're facing a great quarterback, at least you could do is turn him into a good quarterback. You know what I mean? There's levels to everything. But it just seemed like the Eagles on defense cannot get it together when the quarterback is above average. Andy Dalton, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Andy Dalton completed how many of his passes? Andy Dalton went 18 for 22 after beating the Philadelphia Eagles. 18 for 22. That's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable, right? Let's look at this. Where is it? Matt Ryan completed 23 of 32 of his passes. Not terrible, not spectacular, but not terrible either. It's Matt Ryan. You got to be a lot better than that, if you ask me. You got to be a lot better than that. But overall, like I said, the the future defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles faces an uphill battle. If it's Denard Wilson, whoever, or Denard Robinson, I keep messing that up. Is Denard Wilson or Robinson? Denard Wilson, excuse me, Denard Wilson. My apologies if I said Denard Robinson at any other point. Denard Wilson. Sorry about that, coach. Whether if it's Denard Wilson or any other DC that may come in here, they're facing an uphill battle. That's just the reality. Because this Eagles defense has not played well against good quarterbacks. A lot of people always like to say, well, when you're going up against a great quarterback, what do you expect to happen? I'm not just going to give the Eagles a cop out like that. I'm not going to give Jonathan Gannon a cop out like that. It comes a point in time where you got to step up. You got to elevate. You got to do something to make life a little more difficult for them. You have to. You have to. I understand the rules favor the offense these days. I totally get that. But you have to do something to make it more difficult for these top-tier quarterbacks that you're going to face next season. We talked about this. Next season, the Eagles are going to face Dak Prescott twice, who I still think is a good quarterback, just has timely screw-ups. Dak Prescott. Matthew Stafford, who's going to have a bounce-back year, if you ask me. Mac Jones, who I anticipate to have a bounce-back year, a bounce-back year. Then you're going to have to go up against Josh Allen, Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith, Patrick Mahomes. Tua, Geno, and Patrick Mahomes are probably the most accurate quarterbacks on this list. And then you don't know what Kyler Murray is going to look like coming back from the injury. We don't know who the Washington Commanders quarterbacks are going to be. Daniel Jones, we don't know if he can replicate his season. That's if he comes back. I just think it's a lame. You're right, D. Aldridge. It's a lame excuse to just say, well, the great quarterbacks are going to do great things. That's bullshit. I'm not falling back on that. And this goes for coaches and players. We stop buying into the mystique of these quarterbacks. Play football. You know what I'm saying? And sure, that's easy for me to say because I don't play football. It's easy for me to say, right? I'm pretty sure it's easy for me to say. But damn it, I'm saying it. Jonathan Gannon left a bad taste in Philadelphia's mouth, and he snuck out the back door without having an answer for that. He snuck out the back door, and I don't got respect for people like that. I don't. That's just my humble opinion. I come from a different cloth where you gotta wear what you gotta wear what you weave. You feel what I'm saying? I come from a different line of thinking that you don't get to just run from messes you've made. You got to answer for it at the very least. At the very least, you answer for it. Now, did he speak on it briefly in his in his time in Arizona thus far? Did he speak on it? Briefly. But nobody was going to press him on it because now he's the head coach for the Cardinals. So they want to know what his plans are for them. They don't want to know what happened yesterday. They want to know what his plans are for the Cardinals, which I respect. They have to do their jobs too. But damn, Gannon, it's like that. The moment you got the opportunity, you skated. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell her how it is. I'm gonna tell her how I feel because I just think it's corny, especially when you consider how this talent elevated Gannon. Yeah, Gannon did certain things that helped his defense. I think Gannon played the exact same defense he did last year. The exact same defense. You want to know what the difference was? Talented players. And that's typically what's supposed to happen. When you get talented players, your defense is supposed to play better. But when you go up against a comparable offensive opponent, when you go up against an opponent that's going to challenge your defense, no matter how talented they are, that's when the coaching has to shine through. The coaching has to shine through. When iron meets iron, when titanium meets titanium, you feel what I'm saying? When two equal forces meet each other at a point, technique and fundamentals and wit have to come to the forefront. You feel what I'm saying? So, sure, you can make an argument that the Eagles' defense is more talented than the Chiefs' offense, but when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes to just push it to the top like that, you have to, as a DC, you have to outwit your opponent. It's more than just and talent is irrelevant at this point. Now it's about how clever can I be? Can I outsmart this guy? Can I make some subtle tweaks or adjustments to make the quarterback think he's seeing one thing, whereas though another thing is about to happen to him? The Super Bowl wasn't about talent. The way it played out to me, it wasn't about talent. It was about who took advantage of opportunities and who took advantage of the opposing team's weaknesses the best. And the Chiefs took advantage of the Eagles' defense time and time again in that second half. It was very clear. But like I said, the future defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles will be facing an uphill battle. Because let's be frank about this. You guys won't be patient. You won't be patient with the new defensive coordinator. If you see anything that resembles what Jonathan Gannon was doing, and you most likely will from a schematic standpoint, but maybe the philosophy changes. At the very least, you could probably hope for a philosophy change. But when you build your personnel, your roster around a certain style of play, a certain, I guess you say a certain scheme, you can't just totally throw that out the window. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to find someone who can kind of bring the most out of your current personnel. Because when you draft guys like Jordan Davis, or you bring in guys like Haason Reddick to play a certain scheme, and you bring in another DC that switches everything, now you're putting your players in a compromising situation. Now they can't thrive. So I think the in-house hire of a Denard Wilson makes the most sense. They're obviously going to entertain other people who probably run a similar scheme as Gannon, but the philosophy has to change. The approach, the situational football, the situational play calling has to change, right? The approach or the philosophy when it comes to dealing with top tier quarterbacks or even above average quarterbacks has to change. The mentality of the defense has to change. Because I'm tired of giving guys passes for running up against I'm tired of giving guys passes just because the quarterback is good. That means your defense is supposed to be bad. What kind of reasoning is that? I don't like. At some point, the line has to be drawn. The line has to be drawn somewhere. We can't just keep giving defensive coordinators and players outs because the quarterback is good. Everybody get paid to play. So yeah, the quarterback may be good or above average. It's time for you to elevate your game. It's time for you to elevate your prowess on the football field. Coaches and players included. Everyone. That's a corny. I don't like that cop out to me. I don't like that. I don't like that mindset. Oh, well, when you go up against a good quarterback or a great quarterback, well, defense just mail it in, you guys. The game's over. What? I'm not jacking that. I'm not jacking that at all. Lions Den. He says Jonathan Gannon cost us the Super Bowl, and I think he did this on purpose to become the Arizona Cardinals head coach. DeAldridge says we need an explosive runner. Brewing says not only that, special teams was a concern all year, and it was never really addressed because the team trusted Jalen to bail the team out all year, which Jalen did. Taylor Walker, it's like you said, next year's defense is going to be less talented, so Gannon got out of town before he gets exposed for being carried by talent. 5'10" Philly, just the way he talks about his process of getting better, the only thing in his system that made sense was the players, and Haason was playing out of position for half the year. True Savage, it's one thing for a good quarterback to get his, but we gave up we gave up personal best performances with zero adjustments. That's a really good point. Bronham says it's like breaking up with a chick via text message. Yeah, that's exactly what Jonathan Gannon did. He just snuck out the back door. Quincy the Great says, facts, the Broncos stopped Mahomes with ease. So did the Colts. Now, here's the thing. Because both of those teams are in the AFC, they're going to play him more times than we would. On top of that, the Broncos, they're in the same division. So they play him twice a year. They've been playing him twice a year for the past 6 or 7 years. So they already they have the luxury, or maybe it's not a luxury, but they have the advantage of playing him twice a year. So they know what to do. You feel what I'm saying? They know what to do because they play him multiple times a year. So that's a slight advantage they have. But again, I think it's unacceptable to just say, well, he's a good quarterback, so expect the defense to play bad. Like, that's bullshit to me. That's whack. That's whack. I'm sorry. And sure, maybe this is a trend all across the league, right? Maybe we're so honed in on the Philadelphia Eagles that we're forgetting that most teams have this issue of when they go up against top tier quarterbacks, they're giving up high completion percentages. Maybe that's not an Eagles thing. Maybe that's an NFL thing, because most of the NFL is playing this bend but don't break type of defense, this Vic Fangio style of defense. Maybe we're looking at this through Eagles colored glasses, thinking that it's only happening to us. Maybe this is something that's happening all across the NFL. These defensive coordinators are way more passive because they don't want to get beat over the top. Could this be a trend across the board? Is this just a Jonathan Gannon issue? Was this just a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles? I have to do my due diligence on that. But maybe you guys could as well. It's something that needs to be thought about. Although the Eagles have experienced this problem for the past 2 years, maybe this is a problem for the rest of the NFL. Maybe it is. Smitty Eagle says, why are we prolonging signing our coaches? Well, I don't know if it's prolonging. I mean, it's only been a week since the Super Bowl. But remember, I understand Brian Johnson and Denard Wilson are the favorites to get the jobs. They still have to go through the hiring process. They still have to allow external candidates to come in. That's just the policy of the NFL. They have to allow other people a fair shot at getting the job, even though the Eagles have probably already made their decision. So that's probably why you're not seeing any signings yet, Smitty Eagle. Big Juan, the rules cater too much to the rules cater too offensively to dominate games, hence increasing points and flags thrown. Okay, I get what you're saying, Big Juan. You're trying to say that the offense caters too much to the offense. I mean, the NFL, the rules cater too much to the offense. Yes, it's an offensive league, right? It's a passing league. So that's just the reality of what's going to happen. You know, that's just where the NFL is right now. There's more money on offensive production than defensive production. You know what I mean? There's more money in high-scoring games than low-scoring games. You feel what I'm saying? So I totally understand, you know, the dynamic of the NFL and what they're trying to accomplish here. So defenses just have to be better. You know, they have to be more savvy. You know, players have to play a little bit more careful. You know, it's not easy being a cornerback in the NFL. It's not easy being an edge rusher in the NFL. You know, you're constantly having to mince your play. You follow me? You're constantly having to pull back at the last second. You can't really play instinctually like you used to on defense anymore. Now you have to think twice before you touch a quarterback, or you have to think twice before you touch a wide receiver. You know, you got to think 3 or 4 extra times, actually. You know, this, again, I think we have to consider the issues that the Eagles have experienced with Jonathan Gannon. We have to at least consider it being an NFL problem and not just a Jonathan Gannon problem or an Eagles problem. That's not me trying to bail him out. I'm just trying to think constructively about this. I'm trying to think, you know, on a larger scale. I'm trying to think in the macro, not the micro, because it's easy to get wrapped up in our own Philadelphia bubble and think that it's only happening to us. It's really easy to get wrapped up into that. But in reality, most of the NFL is playing this style of defense. Most of the NFL is playing this bend but don't break style of defense because they don't want to get beat over the top. That's where the NFL is right now, because most of the guys coming out of college these days, matter of fact, I'll put it to you this way. Most of these kids now that's coming up through the ranks Pop Warner and, these various football leagues in high school and all that kind of stuff, most of these kids that are coming up, most of the most talented kids coming up now, they want to be wide receivers. They don't want to be running backs because wide receivers where the money is. All the chicks love the wide receivers. You feel what I'm saying? The wide receivers, the flyest guys on the field. You dig? So most of these kids, most of the talented children who probably would have been running backs, a lot of them are becoming wide receivers and or tight ends. Tight ends are getting yak at an alarming rate now. Wide receivers are getting more yak than ever before. You feel what I'm saying? You have these wide receivers now with these running back skills after they catch the ball. You dig? Like, you can make an argument a guy like A.J. Brown probably would have been a running back 15 years ago or 20 years ago. You dig what I'm saying? A guy like Tyreek Hill probably would have been a running back 20 years ago. Deebo Samuel would have been a running back 20 years ago probably. You dig what I'm saying? So the NFL was changing, and the wide receiver position has become the sexiest position for young kids to want to play because the ball always comes your way. You get to score touchdowns. You get to dance in the end zone. Some of the best players, some of the most exciting players in the NFL are at the wide receiver position. Most of these young kids coming up are becoming wide receivers. That's why the wide receiver position is becoming so much more talented. That's why these defenses are so afraid to get beat over the top, because the wide receiver position is so deep, so talented now. They have to find a way to keep up. So their only way of keeping up is probably just keeping everything in front of them. These guys are getting faster. These guys are getting quicker, stronger, more dynamic after the catch. Like I said, a lot of these wide receivers now who are out at the top of their craft, maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago, they would have been running backs because of their ability after the catch, right? Like I said, you're seeing these wide receivers with these running back moves, these running back skill sets after they catch the ball. Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill with the speed. You feel what I'm saying? I could probably go on. DK Metcalf. You follow me here? So, yeah, man, it's a very, very interesting dynamic to think about. No, Wheezy. I think Smitty would have been a wide receiver in any era. He probably would have been. Smitty probably would have been a corner in the 80s and 90s, if I'm being honest with you. Espo says, Tone, the Chiefs aren't a team that's going to get you deep. The real problem is that we schemed a defensive game plan that the Chiefs were never going to do. That's a good point. That's a good point. Big Juan says, I agree. It's more prevent defense. We need aggressive defensive play calling when we let D-line attack. We're most dominant in the league. 78 sacks is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. Big Juan says they drug tested DK Tone. Yeah, I know, man. My man was dunking at the damn celebrity game yesterday. He was out of pocket. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, All-Star Weekend is not what it used to be. I haven't watched All-Star Weekend in. I can't remember the last time I watched All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend used to be the real deal. All-Star Weekend sucks now. I don't know if it was because it was in Utah. I don't know. But All-Star Weekend is not what it used to be. All-Star Weekend used to be an event. Used to be something that you had to tune in for. You know what I mean? Like, it was must-see TV. Now, All-Star Weekend is just a fashion show. I don't care about All-Star Weekend anymore. It sucks. All-Star Weekend sucks. And I don't see it getting better. I don't see it getting better, man. Like, let's really be real about this. Like, there was a moment where All-Star Weekend was an event. Now it's I don't know what I'm watching anymore. The regular season sucks. It's boring. You know what I mean? Like, the only way to end up I'm be honest with you. The NBA, the only way the NBA can save itself from itself, I think the NBA needs to cut down on the games so the games can mean more. The reason the NFL is successful is because of the scarcity of the product. The game is week by week by week. You know what I mean? There's only 17 games in a year, not including the playoffs. So there's a scarcity, right? The low supply, the low supply has increased the demand. You follow me? But in the NBA, the supply is so high, the demand for it is not that high. The demand is low. So, like, it's just, I don't know, man. Don't get me wrong. I like basketball. I like watching basketball games. I like going to basketball games. I like the NBA, but All-Star Weekend has become a joke. It's become a fashion show, and I feel like a lot of these. I feel like a lot of these guys, man. They're. I don't know, man. It's just basketball just don't get real into the playoffs. Let's be honest. It don't get real into the last couple weeks of the season because teams are fighting for spots and the playoffs. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not. It's just not as entertaining as it used to be. Like I said, if the NBA wants to in any way increase competitive juices in the sport, you might got to cut the games back, right? And this isn't about low management. This isn't about player health. That's not why I want the games cut back. I want the games cut back because I want the demand to increase for the supply. I want the demand for the NBA to go up. People don't demand it because there's 82 games in a year. They can catch a game at any point. They know the players don't care about the regular season. They know a lot of these players are coasting for the playoffs. They don't care. So if you cut the games down, okay, it's 82 games. If you cut the games to 65 games or 62 games, look, well, it got to be an even number, right? Because you got to play even number of home and away games. So if you cut the season down to 64 games or 62 games, or if you even try to cut it down to 72 or 70 games, like, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that because now the games mean more. The games mean more. Even the playoff, I'm gonna be honest with you. There hasn't been a playoff series yet to rival that Cavs Golden State era. There hasn't been a final since then. When LeBron came back from a 3-0 deficit or a 3-1 deficit in the finals, there hasn't been. That might be what D. Aldridge is talking about, the 2016 finals. There hasn't been a finals or a playoff run that's rivaled that since then. I'm being totally honest. Last year's finals was weak. Not the teams, but it didn't have that. It didn't have it for me. I wasn't glued. The finals before that, when Milwaukee won, I wasn't glued. I didn't feel the need to, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like these, I don't know. Help me out here, you guys. Is the NBA, is the product being watered down? Is the product being cheapened? What do you guys think the issue is? Like, let's be honest. Like I said, those Cavs Warriors matchups was off the charts. Off the charts. That finals, when LeBron came back from 3-1, that was historic. You can cut the tension with a knife. You follow me? So, yeah, man, and we're going to talk about basketball more and more as as we get closer to the playoffs, because obviously it's the NFL offseason, and we're going to talk about that as well. But we're going to talk about some basketball too, because the Sixers are doing pretty well. But how far will they go? You see, I think this is another thing with me too, right? Because I'm a Sixers fan, obviously. I think I'm experiencing Sixers fatigue. I'm experiencing Sixers playoff fatigue. And let me explain to you what that is. I'm tired of talking about the Sixers getting bounced in the second round of the playoffs. I'm tired of it. It's exhausting. It's truly exhausting to constantly have to cover a team that we know is going to get bounced in the second round. Could that change this season? Maybe. The East just got a little lighter with Brooklyn being dismantled, but they're still a competitive team that plays hard, but they're young. Regardless, you still got to worry about Milwaukee, right? You still got to worry about Boston. You feel me? Those are the main teams in the East that I'm paying attention to, Milwaukee and Boston. Other than that, it's fair game. But I'm experiencing Sixers fatigue. You can't get out of the second round. What am I covering? What am I talking about here? Talking about the same shit every year. Like, it's exhausting. But I'm going to still talk about it. I'm going to still cover it. I'm going to still pay attention. Big Juan says oversaturated quantity of games and load management is killing it, in my opinion. Yeah, man, there's some players that are taking load management to the highest degree. Taking it to the highest degree. Look, cut down the games, get rid of back-to-backs, and that's it. It's just that simple. Cut down on the games and get rid of back-to-backs. It's just that simple to me, man. It's really, really that simple. But I don't understand why they're so hesitant. But LeBron is different. LeBron, like, I don't give LeBron too much grief for sitting out games. You want to know why? LeBron is in what, year 21, year 22? How many years LeBron been in the league? How many years he been in the league? Let's be real. Let me double check this real quick. LeBron has been in the NBA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's been in the league for 19 years. Going on 20 years. He's been in the league for 20 years. 20 freaking years. Like, I don't mind LeBron taking a break. You feel what I'm saying? He's been in the NBA for 20 freaking years. 20. I'm not mad about LeBron taking some days off. He make it look easy. Don't get it twisted. LeBron is 38 years old. LeBron is 38. Still is a top 5 player in the NBA. Where they do that at? I'm not mad at 38-year-old LeBron James, who's been in the NBA since he was 18. Like, say what you want about LeBron James, man. We're not going to appreciate him till he's gone. I'm telling y'all right now. 20 years of dominance. 20 years of being a top 5 player in the NBA. Over a decade of being the best player in the NBA. I'm not mad at LeBron James taking a couple days off. 20 years dedicated to your craft. When you've had finals after finals after finals after finals, we don't appreciate that. I understand he's 3 for 7 in the finals, or he's 4 for 7. How many rings he got? He got 4, right? Yeah, he got 4. He got 4. 2 with Miami, 1 with the Cavs, 1 with the Lakers. 4-time NBA champion, right? And look, 4 championships out of what, 8 finals appearances or 7 finals appearances? Like, look, man, 4 championships out of 8 appearances or 7. I can't remember how many times he's been there. But 4 championships. He, like, come on, man. And he's been in the finals. Like, there was a period in time where LeBron was in the finals like 7 years, 8 years straight, right? Wasn't that like, what a time to be alive, right? My man was in the finals for 7, 8 years in a row. 4 for 10. Thanks, Quez. 4 for 10. A 40% clip, not bad. Not bad. If he's shooting threes, that's not bad. 4 for 10 from the 40% from the 3, that's not bad. That's not bad. If you want to call those 3, like 3-point shots, it's not bad, man. Because you don't get to the finals by accident. My man had like correct me if I'm wrong. Was it like 7 years in a row? 8 years in a row he was in the finals? He didn't win them all, but damn, he had to go up and get some gauntlets a little bit. That Golden State era was vicious. I don't care what nobody say. If that Golden State era wasn't what it was, LeBron would have maybe 6 chips. That Golden State era was something else. Quest says, I just wish we could have got the finals we wanted with him and Kobe. Yeah, that would have been spectacular. That would have been spectacular. Didn't the Cavs lose to the Magic that year? Is that what happened, Quez? They lost to the Magic that year, right? The Cavs? Like that was a wild time. That was a wild time, man. But we're going to begin to close out the show. I appreciate y'all so much for locking in for as long as you guys always have. I love kicking it with you guys every single day. I enjoy this. I enjoy kicking it with y'all. You guys are truly, truly spectacular. We're going to continue to talk about things as they progress with the Philadelphia Eagles offseason, the coaching search, Jalen Hurts' contract, free agency, the NFL draft. I'm gonna do my due diligence and try to get some, find some guys that I think the Eagles should probably target in the draft, maybe free agency, so on and so forth. And we're also going to talk about basketball as well as this thing progresses. So you guys have been great. I appreciate y'all. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got charges to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry, you guys.